The sky above Earth changed in an instant. Where moments before there had been nothing but stars and the familiar dance of orbital stations. Now 1,200 crystalline ships hung in perfect formation like a crown of thorns around the planet. Each vessel was identical, their surfaces catching and splitting Earth's sunlight into rainbow fragments that hurt to look at directly. Commander Ginho Park pressed his palm against the observation window of Orbital Station Prometheus, watching. The alien fleet arranged itself with mathematical precision. The ships moved without visible engines, sliding through space as if the vacuum itself was pulling them into position. He had been a soldier for 20 years, had seen every type of spacecraft humanity had built. But these vessels defied everything he understood about physics. 1,200 vessels confirmed. Lieutenant Somin Kim reported from her station, her usually steady voice cracking with barely contained fear. All identical, all ... just waiting. The waiting was perhaps the worst part. The alien ships simply hung there, silent and motionless, like predators studying their prey. No demands, no communication, no indication of their intentions. Earth's defense satellites painted them with targeting lasers. But the beams simply passed through their holes without effect. Whatever these ships were made of, it was not matter as humans understood it. The silence broke when every screen on Earth activated simultaneously. Televisions in homes, computers in offices, even the simple displays on household appliances all showed the same image. A figure that was almost human but wrong in ways that made the mind recoil. Too tall, too pale, with fingers that had won. Too many joints and eyes that held the cold depth of ancient ice. People of Earth, the creature began, its voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. We are the Galactic Hegemony. We bring you peace. Director Hyan Woolley sat in his office at the United Earth Council headquarters in Seoul, watching the alien ambassador deliver humanity's ultimatum. The creature spoke perfect English, but as reports came in from around the world, Lee realized it was speaking every human language simultaneously. Somehow, each viewer heard the message in their native tongue with perfect grammar and pronunciation. We have observed your species for many cycles, the ambassador continued. You war among yourselves. You poison your world. You suffer from hunger, disease, and death. We offer you freedom from these burdens. Accept peaceful integration into our galactic civilization, and we will share our technology. Your wars will end. Your hunger will cease. Your suffering will become memory. The offer sounded generous, almost too good to be true. Advanced technology that could solve every problem humanity faced. An end to war, poverty, and suffering. All they asked in return was compliance with their galactic order. They make it sound generous, muttered Dr. Yunesio Cheng, Earth's lead xenobiologist. She had been studying the intercepted alien communications for weeks, trying to understand their language patterns and cultural structure. Something about their speech troubled her deeply. Every transmission used identical syntax, identical emotional cadences, as if all the voices came from the same source. 72 hours, the ambassador concluded. Consider our offer carefully. Those who accept integration will be welcomed into our peaceful civilization. Those who refuse will face corrective measures. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. In emergency sessions around the world, government leaders debated humanity's response. Some saw opportunity in the alien offer. Others recognized the velvet glove hiding an iron fist. The phrase corrective measures carried an ominous weight that made even the most optimistic diplomats nervous. While Earth's leaders argued, Captain Du-Hyen Choi received disturbing reports from the outer colonies. Mining station Kepler 44-B had gone silent 3 days ago. Research outpost Glee 667C was not responding to communication attempts. The pattern was subtle, but unmistakable. Humanity's frontier was disappearing, one outpost at a time. Sir, his communications officer reported, fingers flying over her console. We're receiving a transmission from the Tau Ceti colony, they say. They say, ships are coming. The transmission was brief and filled with static. Colonists screaming about crystalline vessels appearing in their system. Desperate voices calling for help. Then, abruptly, The signal cut to static and died. Captain Choi felt a chill run down his spine. The timing was too convenient. The alien ambassador had just delivered their ultimatum, but their ships were already moving against human colonies. This was not a negotiation. This was a conquest that had already begun. He opened a priority channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Choi. We have a situation. The aliens are not waiting for our answer. They are already acting." Across the solar system, more reports came in. Distant colonies going silent, transport ships disappearing between star systems. The alien fleet above Earth remained motionless, but their compatriots were already at work, systematically dismantling humanity's presence in space. The 72-hour deadline was a lie. The war had already begun. The truth came slowly, like poison seeping through water. Dr. Eunicio Chang had not slept in 3 days, her eyes burning as she stared at the alien. Data streams flowing across her computer screens, coffee cups littered her desk, cold and forgotten, as she worked to decode the intercepted hegemony communications. What she found in those transmissions made her blood turn to ice. Her hands trembled as she reached for the emergency communication. "Relay the secure channel that connected directly to Director Lee's office." The red light blinked, indicating the line was encrypted and safe from alien monitoring. "Director Lee," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "We need to talk now. Not tomorrow, not in an hour. Right now." The meeting took place in the deep underground bunkers beneath Seoul, where the concrete walls were thick enough to block any alien surveillance. Dr. Chang spread her findings across the metal table like a coroner, laying out evidence of murder. Charts, graphs, and decoded alien text filled the space between them. "The peaceful integration," she began, her voice steady despite the horror of what she was about to reveal. "It is a lie. A beautiful lie wrapped in promises they never intend to keep." Director Lee leaned forward, studying the alien symbols that Dr. Chang had managed to translate. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. The missing colonies had not been destroyed in battle. They had been harvested like crops, their populations carefully collected and processed. "They relocate the people first," Dr. Chang explained, pointing to shipping manifests written in alien script. "Then they extract every valuable resource from the planets. But the people themselves, the people become something else entirely." Meanwhile, Captain Duhaeon Choi led a desperate rescue mission to the Titan mining facility, one of the last colonies to go silent. His ship approached the mining platform carefully, scanning for signs of alien vessels. The station appeared normal from the outside, its lights still burning, its docking bays still operational. "Life signs detected," reported his scanner officer. 237 humans, all alive and moving normally. But when Captain Choi and his Marines boarded the station, they found something that would haunt them forever. The miners were indeed alive, walking through the corridors and working at their stations with perfect efficiency. They responded to questions with polite courtesy, their voices calm and measured, yet their eyes were empty. "Excuse me," Captain Choi said to a miner he recognized from the personnel files. "Are you Jun-Ho Park, from the drilling team?" The man turned to face him with a pleasant smile that never reached his eyes. "I am Worker Unit 7742. How may I assist you today?" Sergeant Minjon Han tried talking to a woman who had been the station's chief engineer. She answered his questions about the mining equipment with perfect technical accuracy. But when he asked about her family back on Earth, she looked at him with polite confusion. "I do not understand the relevance of your question," she said. "My function is to maintain mining operations. Is there a technical issue you need resolved?" "They're not dead," Sergeant Han reported to Captain Choi, his voice breaking over the communication channel. "But they are not alive either. They're empty. Like someone reached into their heads and scooped out everything that made them human." The intercepted hegemony files that Dr. Chang decoded told the complete story. The alien civilization was not a collection of different species working together in harmony. It was a graveyard of cultures, each one stripped of everything that made them unique. The proud Valkyrie, once warrior poets who wrote epic tales of battle and honor, now worked as silent factory drones. The adventurous Thren, who had once explored dangerous new worlds for the joy of discovery, now served as efficient transport pilots with no curiosity left in their modified minds. The artistic Kess, whose sculptures had once been considered the most beautiful in the galaxy, now produced identical objects on assembly lines. Their creativity surgically removed along with their individual personalities. Every species in the hegemony had undergone the same process. They had been peacefully integrated by having their souls removed and replaced with artificial compliance. They were living beings reduced to biological machines, their cultures erased, their fighting spirits cut away like tumors. When Director Lee finally stood before the Global Assembly to deliver Earth's answer, knew he was signing humanity's death warrant. The alien fleet still hung above Earth, waiting with infinite patience for the response they already knew would come. "We have seen what your peace means," he declared, his voice carrying across the assembly hall and to every human listening around. "The world, we have seen our people turned into hollow shells. We have seen entire civilizations reduced to worker drones. We reject your offer. We choose to remain free." The response came within minutes. Ambassador Veltar appeared on every screen again, its pale features showing no surprise, no anger, no emotion at all. When it spoke, its voice carried the same perfect calm as before. "Your species shows promise," the ambassador said. "Your resistance indicates useful traits. We will preserve what is useful and correct what is not. Integration will proceed as planned." The transmission ended, and immediately the crystalline ships began to move. They descended toward Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their surfaces beginning to glow with internal energy. The war that everyone had hoped to avoid was about to begin, but this time, humanity knew exactly what they were fighting for. The alien ships came down like a silver storm, their crystalline hulls gleaming. As they entered Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation, the hegemony's first assault was a masterpiece of military precision, calculated down to the smallest detail. Their ships moved like dancers in a choreographed performance, each vessel knowing exactly where it needed to be and when. They had used the same approach to defeat 12 different species across the galaxy. The methodical, orderly attack had never failed them before. Every civilization they had encountered fought in predictable patterns, following logical strategies that could be countered with superior coordination. Humanity was different. Colonel Jin Su-Kong watched the alien formation approach his sector through the cockpit of his fighter craft. His squadron of 20 pilots waited in the shadow of Earth's moon, their ships powered down to avoid detection. The aliens flew in a perfect diamond pattern, their spacing exact, their movements synchronized like a flock of mechanical birds. "Remember," he said over the communication channel, "we are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to survive. Fair fights are for sports, not for war." When the attack came, it was chaos incarnate. The human fighters burst from their hiding places. Like angry hornets, their flight paths wild and unpredictable. They dove through the alien formation, rolled under their weapons, and attacked from angles that made no tactical sense. The aliens tried to respond with their practiced coordination, but their perfect formations became a trap. When one ship moved to intercept a human fighter, it blocked the firing solution of 3 others. When they tried to reorganize, the humans were already somewhere else, striking from a completely different direction. "They cannot adapt," Colonel Kong reported as his pilots tore through the alien defensive grid. "They are fighting the last war, not this one." But the real shock came when his Marines breached the hull of a hegemony processing ship. They had expected to find alien crew members, strange beings with advanced technology. Instead, they found humans from the outer colonies, walking through the corridors in neat lines, working at control stations with mechanical precision. Lieutenant Soyoung. Park recognized one of them immediately. She had trained with him at the academy, had served with him on 3 different assignments. They had been friends, had shared jokes and stories during long flights between star systems. "Junho?" she whispered, removing her helmet as she approached him. "Junho, it is me," is Soyoung. The man turned to face her with the same polite, empty expression she had seen on the other converted humans. His eyes, once bright with humor and intelligence, now held nothing but artificial calm. "I am designated worker unit 7742, he said, in a voice that sounded like his own but carried none of his personality. "How may I assist you?" She tried again, desperate to find some trace of her friend. "Do you remember the academy? Remember when we crashed that training simulator and had to clean the hangar for a week?" "I do not understand the relevance of your question," he replied. "My function is to operate navigation systems. Is there a technical issue you need resolved?" Reports from the processing ship spread across Earth's communication networks like wildfire. Video footage of the converted humans, audio recordings of their empty voices, testimonies from soldiers who had found their own friends and family members, transformed into hollow shells. Something broke in the human soul that day. What had been? Military resistance, fought by professional soldiers following orders, transformed into something far more dangerous. It became a species-wide recognition that this war was not about territory or resources or political control. This was about the very essence of what it meant to be human. Dr. Uniso Chang worked through the night in her laboratory, surrounded by computers and tactical displays. She had been a scientist before the war, studying alien languages and cultures. Now she was humanity's secret weapon, using her knowledge to turn their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. "They have spent millennia perfecting order," she explained to the Emergency War Council. "Every species they have conquered fought in organized, predictable ways. But humans are different. We are chaotic. We are unpredictable. We are going to teach them what chaos really means." She developed new tactical algorithms that deliberately introduced random elements into human battle plans, communication protocols that changed every hour, making it impossible for the aliens to predict or intercept orders. Weapons systems that were designed to malfunction in exactly the right way to catch the enemy off guard. The hegemony had expected a brief police action. It's a simple matter of overwhelming a primitive species with superior technology and coordination. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that grew more dangerous the harder they were pressed. Every human victory, no matter how small, was broadcast across the galaxy on every available frequency. Images of alien ships burning in space, recordings of human pilots laughing as they dodged impossible odds. Testimonies from soldiers who had found ways to turn the aliens' own technology against them. The message was simple, but powerful. Humanity would not go quietly into the dark. They would fight, they would resist, and they would make their enemies pay for every inch of ground. The war had begun in earnest. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the hegemony was learning what it meant to face an enemy that refused to be defeated. The change began quietly, like the first crack in a dam that would eventually burst. 4 months into the war, Dr. Yunesio Chang sat in her underground laboratory, monitoring alien communication channels as she did every night. The screens around her displayed thousands of intercepted transmissions from across the galaxy, most of them routine reports from hegemony facilities. Then something strange happened in the Vega system. The communication hub there had been sending regular updates every 6 hours for the past 300 years. Production reports, worker assignments, resource extraction schedules, all delivered in the same emotionless tone that characterized every hegemony transmission. But at 1432 Earth Standard Time, transmissions simply stopped. Dr. Chang leaned forward, adjusting her headset to listen more carefully. She expected to hear the sounds of battle, the chaos of human fighters attacking the facility. Instead, she heard something far more disturbing. Silence. "This is odd," she muttered, switching to the facility's internal communication system. What she found made her heart race with excitement. The converted Valkyrie workers had stopped working. They stood motionless in their processing centers, their eyes staring blankly at the walls. Their artificial conditioning was flickering like a dying light, fragments of their original personalities fighting to break through the neural programming that had kept them enslaved for centuries. "Director Lee," Dr. Chang called over the secure channel, her voice trembling with excitement. "You need to see this. The neural programming is failing. Our broadcasts, our chaos, our simple human stubbornness, it is breaking through their conditioning." Evidence was undeniable. For months, Earth had been broadcasting on every frequency they could reach. It's not just military communications, but everything that made humans human. Music that changed rhythm unexpectedly. Poetry that broke traditional rules. Stories of individuals who chose to stand against impossible odds. Art that celebrated chaos and imperfection. These transmissions had been meant to confuse hegemony, tactical computers. But they were doing something far more important. They were reminding the converted species what they had lost on distant worlds. Beings that had been peacefully integrated centuries ago began to remember. The Valkyrie, once proud warrior poets who wrote epic tales of battle and honor, started to recall fragments of their ancient songs. The Thren, who had explored dangerous new worlds for the joy of discovery, felt stirrings of their old curiosity. The Kes, whose sculptures had once been considered the most beautiful in the galaxy, began to see beauty in imperfection once again. The awakening spread like wildfire. What had been a war between Earth and the hegemony became something much larger. A galactic civil war as dozens of species fought to reclaim their stolen identities. Captain Du-Hyen Choi found himself at the center of this unexpected alliance. His fleet had grown from a handful of human vessels to a mixed force of ships from across the galaxy. The destroyer Soul's Pride now flew alongside. Valkyrie raiders with their angular hulls painted in the bright colors of their ancient war clans. Thren exploration vessels, their crews desperate to feel the thrill of discovery again, served as scouts and pathfinders. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Jaewon Seo, "the hegemony forces are retreating. They are pulling back to their core systems, trying to concentrate their remaining forces." The Bridge of Soul's Pride was a chaos of languages and cultures. A Valkyrie warrior poet worked alongside a human engineer, their hands moving over controls. They had never been designed to operate together. A Thren explorer sat at the navigation station, plotting courses through dangerous nebulae that only someone with their species' natural instincts could navigate safely. They had no common language, except the universal tongue of rebellion, but somehow they made it work. When the Valkyrie warrior shouted a warning in his native tongue, the human crew understood the urgency even if they could not understand the words. When the Thren explorer pointed to a dangerous asteroid field, everyone knew to adjust course. Without being told, Captain Choi watched his mixed crew work together and felt a surge of pride. This was what the hegemony had tried to destroy, the beautiful chaos of different species working together by choice, not by force. The alien's perfect formations looked pathetic compared to the organized confusion of his fleet. "They're trying to restore order," he said, studying the tactical display. "But it is too late. The damage is done." The artificial peace that had held the hegemony together for millennia was crumbling. On world after world, converted populations were waking up, remembering who they used to be, and choosing to be themselves again. The neural programming that had kept them enslaved was breaking down. Overwhelmed by the simple human concept that chaos and individuality were not weaknesses to be corrected, but strengths to be celebrated, the humans discovered they were not fighting alone. They were fighting alongside the ghosts of civilizations that had been peacefully integrated long ago. And those ghosts were very, very angry. A Valkyrie warrior poet stood on the Bridge of Soul's Pride, his eyes burning with centuries of suppressed rage. "You humans have given us back our souls," he said in broken English. "Now we will show the hegemony what happens when warriors remember how to fight." The final battle was coming, and for the first time the hegemony was outnumbered. The final battle did not happen among the stars as everyone had expected. Instead, it came in the heart of the hegemony itself, on a world called Nexus Prime. This was where the alien empire's founding council had ruled for thousands of years, maintaining their perfect order through machines that processed the minds of entire species. General Tamino stood at the edge of the landing zone, watching as his mixed army prepared for the assault. Humans fought alongside reawakened Valkyrie warriors, their ancient armor gleaming with fresh war paint. Explorers served as scouts, their natural curiosity now focused on finding weak points in the enemy defenses. Chess artists had become demolition experts, using their creative minds to find beautiful ways to destroy hegemony installations. Remember, the general told his forces, "We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for the right to choose who we want to be." The processing complex stretched across the horizon like a metal city, its towers reaching toward the pale sky. Everything was clean, perfect, and utterly lifeless.
Ow.
No birds flew overhead, no insects buzzed in the air. Even the plants that grew in carefully maintained gardens looked artificial, bred to be beautiful but stripped of any wild nature. The hegemony's defenses were formidable but predictable. Automated weapon systems tracked the attacking forces, with mathematical precision, firing at exactly the right moments to achieve maximum effect. Force fields activated in perfect geometric patterns, creating barriers that should have been impossible to cross. But the chaotic tactics that had become humanity's signature confused the alien computers. When the Velkari warriors charged in, a wild frenzy, screaming ancient battle songs, the defense systems could not calculate their movements. When human soldiers used explosives in ways that made no tactical sense, the automated guns fired at empty air. Dr. Uniso Chang followed. The assault teams into the complex, her scientific instruments scanning everything around her. The corridors were pristine white, with no decoration or personality anywhere. Even the air felt sterile, as if it had been processed to remove any trace of natural chaos. The truth waited in the central chamber, where the hegemony's founding. Council maintained their eternal vigil. Dr. Chang expected to find alien beings, strange creatures from distant worlds. Instead, she found something far more disturbing. The founders floated in life support pods, their bodies kept alive by machines that had been running for millennia. But as Dr. Chang studied them with her xenobiological training, she realized what she was seeing. "They're not alien," she whispered to General O. "They are. They were like us. Like all of us. They chose this." The beings in the pods had once been individuals from a dozen different species. She could see traces of Velkar, bone structure in one, Thren features in another, even what might have been early human characteristics in a third. But millennia ago, they had surrendered their chaotic, unpredictable natures for the promise of eternal stability. They had built their empire of peace by becoming the very thing they sought to impose on others: empty, perfect, and utterly without soul. The final confrontation was not won through superior firepower or clever tactics. It was won through something the processed minds could not comprehend: the willingness to sacrifice everything for an ideal. When the human assault forces reached the central processing core, they faced a terrible choice. A massive machine that controlled the neural conditioning of billions of beings across the galaxy hummed with power. They could destroy it. But doing so would kill thousands of the converted who could not survive without their artificial conditioning. Commander Soman Park, now bearing the scars of a dozen battles, stood before the control panel. Her finger hovered over the shutdown switch, knowing that pressing it would doom countless innocents. "We cannot save everyone," she said quietly to the mixed group of humans and aliens around her. "But we can save the idea of choice itself." She pressed the switch. The processing core went dark with a sound like thunder across the galaxy. The neural conditioning that had kept entire species enslaved for centuries began to fail. Some of the converted would survive, slowly remembering who they used to be. Others, too deeply changed, would die as their modified minds could not function without artificial support. In the aftermath, as the former hegemony worlds struggled with their newfound freedom, they asked Earth's survivors why they had fought so hard. The answer came from Dr. Chang, speaking to the first galactic assembly of free worlds. "'Cause being human means choosing to be human every single day," she said. "Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because the alternative is to stop being human at all. We chose to remain human no matter the cost. The cost had been terrible. Earth bore the scars of the war. Billions were dead. and humanity now faced the enormous task of helping rebuild a galaxy of species learning to be individuals again. Cities lay in ruins, families had been torn apart, and entire worlds would need decades to recover. But in the end, when the galaxy spoke of peace, it was a peace chosen freely, defended fiercely, and earned through the simple, stubborn refusal to surrender the chaos that made life worth living. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning.